What would you do if your home started whispering your name? The quiet creaks of an old house become voices in the dark, calling from within the walls. When ancient symbols appear and the whispers turn into demands, you realize that the house doesn't want you to leave. Ever. The whispers in the walls. I've lived in this old house for about 6 months now. When I first moved in, it felt like a dream, a cozy place in the countryside, far from the chaos of the city. But lately, things have changed. It started with the noises. At first, I thought it was just the house settling. You know, the usual creaks and groans of an old building. But these sounds were different. They were subtle, almost imperceptible at first, soft whispers, like a conversation happening just out of earshot. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself that it was my imagination. But the whispers grew louder. They weren't just sounds anymore. They were voices. I could never make out what they were saying, but I knew they were talking about me. They would start when I was alone in a room, or in the dead of night when I was trying to sleep. It was as if the house was alive and it was watching me. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. The whispers had become incessant, driving me to the edge of madness. I shouted at them to stop, but they only grew louder, more frantic. Desperate, I began tearing through the house, trying to find the source. I tore at the wallpaper, ripped up the floorboards, and even smashed through the plaster. But there was nothing, no wires, no hidden speakers, nothing that could explain the voices. That's when I noticed the walls. Behind the plaster, there were layers of old wood, stained dark with age. But that wasn't what caught my attention. It was the carvings. The walls were covered in them, hundreds of tiny, intricate symbols etched deep into the wood. They seemed to twist and writhe in the dim light as if alive. I leaned in closer, trying to make sense of them, when I felt a sudden cold breath on the back of my neck. I spun around, but no one was there. The whispers stopped abruptly, plunging the house into an eerie silence. I backed away from the wall, heart pounding, and stumbled into the hallway. But as I did, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The carvings weren't just in the walls, they were everywhere. The floors, the ceilings, even the furniture. Symbols upon symbols, all woven together in a complex, nightmarish tapestry. How had I never noticed them before? Panic set in. I ran to the front door, desperate to escape, but it wouldn't budge. The locks were open, but the door felt like it was glued shut. I pounded on it, screaming for help, but my voice seemed to die in the air. Then I heard it, a single clear voice right behind me.
Don't leave. We're not done yet.
I whipped around, but the hallway was empty. The voice, however, was unmistakable, cold, calm, and dripping with malice. I ran back to the living room, hoping to find something, anything that would help me escape. But as I entered, I stopped dead in my tracks. The room was different. The symbols had changed. They were no longer just random etchings. They formed a word, repeated over and over across every surface.
Stay.
I stumbled backward, tripping over the torn-up floorboards. The whispers returned, louder than ever, filling the room with a cacophony of voices. They weren't just talking now, they were shouting, screaming at me to stay, to join them. The room began to close in on me, the walls seeming to pulse with a life of their own. I scrambled to my feet, heart racing, and bolted for the stairs. If I couldn't get out, maybe I could hide, but the moment I reached the top of the stairs, I knew I had made a terrible mistake. The upstairs hallway was completely dark, the kind of darkness that swallows you whole. The whispers were there too, echoing all around me, but they were different now, softer, almost pleading. I hesitated, feeling the icy fingers of dread clawing at my mind. But something compelled me forward, something I couldn't explain. The whispers grew louder with each step I took, guiding me toward the end of the hall. There was a door there, one I had never noticed before. It was slightly ajar, a faint light spilling out from the crack. The whispers urged me on, promising answers, promising an end to the terror. I reached out with a trembling hand and pushed the door open. Inside, the room was empty, save for a single mirror on the far wall. It was old and ornate, the glass slightly warped and clouded with age. But as I stepped closer, I saw something that made my breath catch in my throat. My reflection wasn't mine. The face staring back at me was gaunt and hollow, eyes sunken deep into their sockets. Its mouth twisted into a grotesque smile, teeth yellowed and sharp. But the worst part was its eyes. They were filled with a dark, endless void, as if staring into them would pull you into oblivion. The whispers stopped suddenly, replaced by a low, guttural growl. The reflection's smile widened, stretching impossibly across its face, and it began to move toward me inside the mirror. But getting closer with each passing second, I tried to move, to run, but my body was frozen in place. The reflection reached out, its bony fingers pressing against the glass from the inside, as if it were trying to break free. "No," I whispered, backing away. "This isn't real. It can't be real." But the reflection only laughed, a hollow, echoing sound that rattled through my skull. It leaned closer, its breath fogging up the glass.
You can't leave.
It hissed, its voice a distorted mirror of my own.
This is your home now.
I stumbled backward, my foot catching on something. I hit the floor hard, the wind knocked out of me. But I didn't take my eyes off the mirror. The reflection was still there, its twisted smile the last thing I saw before everything went black. When I woke up, I was back in my bed. The house was quiet, the whispers gone. For a brief moment I thought it had all been a nightmare, but then I saw the carvings on the walls. The words stay etched into every surface, and I heard it again, that voice whispering from the darkness.
Welcome home.
I'd never left that house. I couldn't. It wouldn't let me. The doors remained locked, the windows sealed shut. The whispers were my only company now, growing louder and louder with each passing day. They say houses have memories, that they hold on to the echoes of those who lived there. But this house, it doesn't just remember, it keeps you, and now it has me.